right, now we gotta wait till we get Facebook groups in here, which can sometimes be a pain. All right, gotta wait for a couple of green check marks here. There we go.
Okay, Sean
Welcome in.
Connery.
You ruined my opening, man. Welcome into another episode of Dove Valley Deep Divers. Lance just wants to run the intro into it. But thank you guys for joining us on this fine Friday night as we do get into another episode of Dove Valley Divers. I'm your host, Erick Trickel. Joining me as always is Lance Sanderson after a week off. Obviously, we had some stuff going on. It was my mother's birthday last weekend or last Friday. So I took the night off to spend the night with her and watch the opening ceremony of the Olympics, which is something that we do as a family every single time, the opening and closing ceremonies. And you end up having some family stuff as well. So we just ended up canceling the show. So how you doing, man? It's been a while.
It's been a minute. Obviously, coming out of the Super Bowl, I'm exhausted. If you guys know, I work for Frito-Lay, and people really like their chips and dip when it comes to the Super Bowl. So I put in 65 hours worth of work last week, and I'm tired. But it also sucks, because you go back and you think about what could have been. The Broncos probably could have been in that game. It would have been, I think, a much better game if Bo Nix doesn't break his ankle against the Buffalo Bills. So bittersweet coming out of this week, but I'm looking forward to what we're getting going into here. We're obviously going to do a mock draft here in just a little bit, but the NFL Combine's right around the corner. We are getting into draft season. I sat down and watched 8 different wide receivers today to try it in the tail end of the first, second, third round area to kind of get a better idea of the players that we're talking about here for the Broncos today. Doing good though. It's been a really fun and wild ride over the last week and a half or so.
Yeah, and you mentioned the scouting combine doesn't start this next week, but the week after that.
Yep.
So next Friday night show, it's going to be focused about what we want to see out of certain players at the scouting combine. They did release their list of the invites. I think 319 players invited to the combine this year. Some pretty obvious snubs, I think, and I have an article up talking about those snubs this year over on milehill.com. Obviously, Trinidad Chambliss is one of those snubs, but that was because of the lawsuit that he has to get an extra year of eligibility that he currently is poised to get. The NCAA has a chance to appeal. Doesn't look like it's going to go their way. So it makes sense not have him, but there are still some others there. But we'll talk more about the combine over the next couple weeks, because in 2 weeks, the combine will be going on. So we'll be talking about that. So I'm looking forward to it. I absolutely, draft time of year, absolutely love it. And super excited for it. I've enjoyed the time I've had off because I've been watching a lot of the Olympics, Lance, and it's a big thing. And so as I'm sitting here trying to get work done, I have the Olympics playing on my phone and I keep stopping to pause it. Rather disappointing day today for the Americans. The quad god failed to even medal in figure skating today, and he was the guy that everybody's like, oh yeah, he's going to win gold. Fell multiple times, lost 72 points just on technical errors of not doing what he was supposed to, the tricks he was supposed to do and all that. Disappointing day in snowboarding as well over the last couple days. Chloe Kim and didn't win gold. She ended up falling on her final run. Fun fact, Chloe Kim is dating the defensive player of the year, Myles Garrett. I didn't know that until they showed him at her run. But I digress. I'm getting off track here. It's glad to have you here. Glad to have everybody here in the chat. Hope you all are enjoying the Olympics and the draft season and all that we are getting into. But we're going to say hello to some people here in the chat. We have David Papa Bear McElrath coming in with the $2 super chat saying, good evening, Broncos country. Good evening to you, Papa Bear. Hope you are doing well. We see you always come in before the chat, but we don't see you in during the show, so don't have a chance to really hear from you. But I really do hope that you are doing well. MBLX test prep went back to how, after you corrected me in October about it, I went back to how I used to say it. MBLX test prep coming in. I'm here to party as always. Shiloh coming in saying, let the good times roll. Daniel Barry Sports Highlight, who isn't a member yet, got to go over, got to get that YouTube membership, saying happy Friday. Hello, everybody. Happy Friday the 13th to everybody.
Right.
And happy Valentine's Day as well. I hope you guys have something special planned for tomorrow. Get the big thing done for your significant other this year, and so you can make up for, pull the whole thing next year of, well, the Super Bowl's on Valentine's Day, babe. I gotta watch the big game. Do the big thing this year, and then use that next year to get the day off. Jackson Oviet coming in, say good evening, everyone. Keith coming in saying, what day is the combine? It is, I can't remember the exact day. It's the 23rd. coming in, I think.
Is that the Thursday? It usually starts on a Thursday, if I remember correctly.
It technically starts on a Tuesday with everybody arriving, and then all the other stuff. The actual drill work typically goes Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Yep.
So it's typically a Tuesday. So I think it's I'm pretty sure it's the 23rd. It's a week from this next Tuesday, whatever day that happens to be.
24th.
Sure. Shiloh coming in saying, Eric, I think I heard there's more tight ends at the combine this year than last year, despite it being a weaker class. What's the deal? I don't think the tight end class this year is weaker than last year per se. I think it's got more depth. Last year just had much more talent at the top.
Mm-hmm.
And there are a lot of tight ends in this class. And I think part of it also plays into the fact that the class overall, not just the tight ends, but the whole group is a lot weaker than last year. So you're getting less guys at other positions. This is one of the lowest years for running backs at the combine ever. So there's a lot that plays into it. I'm not surprised there's a lot, but because there's some good depth to the tight end class. Not the talent at the top, but the depth is there.
Yeah, we got to pause for just a second because Shannon jumping off the top rope right at the start of the show here with the $50 super chat saying, good evening, Eric, Lance, and Broncos country. Happy Friday. Looking forward to the mock. Hope everyone had a great week, and Olympic hockey has been her favorite to watch. Olympic hockey is awesome. I love hockey in general, gigantic Avalanche fan. And to see all the Avs out there, I mean, Gabriel Landeskog scored a goal. Arturi Lehkonen scored a goal on the power play. McKinnon scored a goal. Makar had an assist. Who else? Brock Nelson had a huge game for the Americans against Latvia the other day. He had 2 goals and an assist. He could have had 3 goals. One got called back for goaltender interference. To see the Avalanche players, especially on the power play, which has been one of the worst power plays, if not the worst power play in the NHL this year, to see these guys go out there playing for their countries and having some success on the power play. Hopefully that comes back for the NHL here in a couple of weeks. Canada, I believe, smoked Switzerland earlier today too. So Nathan McKinnon, Devon Taves, Cale Makar, all those guys had another really good game. But yeah, Olympic hockey is always fun. I really like the downhill, and unfortunately, Lindsey Vonn broke her leg really bad. The Super G is always really fun to watch too. And then I'm partial to more of the skiing and snowboarding sports. So the half pipe, I didn't get to watch Chloe Kim. I heard about that earlier today, which was unfortunate. But moguls and then freestyle ski jumping is always something huge for me to watch. I can't wait to get into that here in a little while.
Yeah. I don't care about hockey, but it's the Olympics. So I care about the Olympics. And I think it's really cool that every game the American team has played so far, they've scored at least 5 goals. They scored 6 in their game today against Italy, the women's team, in the quarterfinals to advance. So that's always great. And Lance, I'm disappointed in you. You didn't say curling, the best Olympic sport there is.
I don't know enough about curling. I need to. I hear it's hilarious.
Not even people who play curling know enough about the sport. It is just so entertaining to watch for some weird reason.
So I watched a bunch of highlights. There was a 3-stone clear that happened. I believe it was American mixed doubles where it was a 3-stone clear to clear the board and win the point to win what is it called? I can't remember what the match, whatever it is, whatever that particular inning or whatever it is called. And thank you. That's what I'm looking for. So I watched that. I love curling. It's fun. I just don't get enough. I never get a chance to sit down and watch a whole lot of it right now. And I don't have Peacock, so I can't go back and watch anything else. So I need to spend $8 or whatever it is to get Peacock so I can actually watch a lot of the Olympics. A lot of what I get to consume is through the radio, listening to it. And then also on Twitter, just trying to find highlights as best as I can.
Yeah. And anyways, thank you, Shannon Mills, for coming in with the $50 super chat. We appreciate you. Hope you are having a wonderful Friday night. Hope you have a wonderful Valentine's Day tomorrow as well. And hope you keep enjoying the Olympics. I absolutely love the Olympics. And if I could, I would talk all night tonight about the Olympics. I actually care more about the Olympics than football in general, just because of some personal meanings for it. Don't get your pitchforks and torches. There's personal reasons as to why. It deals with my family and stuff like that. But I absolutely love the Olympics. And yeah, I could talk about them for hours on end with different.
They're very weird this year. There's a lot of weird storylines coming out of the Olympics this year. We'll not get into that. Let's go back to the chat.
Oh, you mean we don't want to talk about the guy who admitted to cheating on his girlfriend after winning the bronze medal?
How about the fact
What?
that the Cortis area ran out of condoms? There's that.
Well, that's a known fact that Olympic Village that goes around, but there's more that's a little bit on the not safe for work headlines with this, especially with the ski jumpers, but we won't get
Yeah.
there. We'll
Yeah.
focus on what you guys are here to talk about. Football, and particularly the Broncos, and for tonight's show, the NFL draft. I'm going to kick things off over to Lance to kind of drive the conversation from here. So that part of that is so I don't keep talking about the Olympics.
All right, so guys, we kind of talked about it here a couple of seconds ago with Shiloh saying that this is being kind of a weaker class, not specifically at tight end, just in general. I mean, obviously the positions of value, there are a handful of guys on the offensive line that could be had their name called in the top 10, maybe 15 or so. A lot of guys seem to be more interior offensive linemen. A lot of the interior offensive linemen could be more centers. So the positional value of this class is really, really weird. And it's something that I've kind of been thinking about over the last couple of days in terms of when we talk about these mock drafts, we need to stop thinking about positional value being something that drives the decision making, particularly for the Broncos, because the tougher or the stronger classes this year are positions like linebacker, tight end, safety, the interior defensive line, specifically at like the nose tackle. Like a lot of the positions of lesser value of what people like determine when roster building are the stronger parts of this class this year. And Eric, I want like your biggest opinion here on this in terms of what do you think is actually the best position in this class? Like linebacker definitely has to be up there. And quite honestly, this safety group is really, really fun to watch too.
Yeah, I mean, so people often take it out of context what we mean when we talk about positional value. It doesn't mean that you shouldn't look that guy's way. It's just if you have two players similarly graded, positional value can be that tiebreaker. And the same applies true for this year, even with it being a weaker class on a lot of the positions that have carried that higher positional value. If there's a guy that's at a lesser not as valued as a position, but he has a significantly higher grade than the other options, you're not going away from that because of positional value. And that's what the Lions did a couple of years ago with Jack Campbell and Jahmyr Gibbs. They had those guys significantly higher graded than other players on their board that were available at that time. So they went with the lesser valued position, and it's worked out well for them. Doesn't always, though. The draft is a crapshoot, and you got to do what you can. So it's just that you just got to remember that. It's like if you have a wide receiver who's graded, at a 90 overall, just as an example, and you have a linebacker at a 90 overall, maybe even a 91 or 92 overall, where it's close enough, then you factor in that positional value. Same holds true to this year. And it kind of is a weird draft year where the tight ends are a deep class, not strong at the top, but a deep class. Running back, a weak class, which is very unusual for the draft, where it's typically a bunch of running backs coming in every single year. Interior offensive line is pretty good. Offensive tackles a little bit weak, and a lot of guys in this tackle class are going to be likely moved inside. Interior defensive line is a good class, but it's carried because of the nose tackles, which are the lesser valued part of the defensive line. Linebackers, great class. Edge room is absolutely fantastic. Like the edges in this class might be the best position group in this year. Safeties, a little bit better than corners. Not that corners bad. It's a very solid group, and it's got some strength at the top, but the depth definitely falls off after a certain point where safety it's kind of strong throughout. Quarterback is a bad class. So it's tough to value, and you can't, and it's one of those things that you got to judge each year based on each year. You can't you can't always relate it to last year. Last year was a very different class from this year, where you're getting guys in the mid-second round that a lot of people had at first-round grades or borderline first-round grades. This year, you're going to be seeing guys in the second, drafted late in the first round that teams have like, all right, you're a second-round graded player, or even a third-round graded player. So that's just something that has to be factored into it. And I want to grab this here real quick. Come on, guys. It's supposed to be about football. Start a different channel about the Olympics. We spend 60 minutes every single Friday talking about football, pretty much. We can take 5 to 10 minutes to talk about other stuff every now and then. We're not spending a lot. We took a few minutes to talk about the Olympics. It's draft season. The Super Bowl just ended. We're still going to give you plenty of football to talk about.
Oh yeah.
We can talk about other things. We just can't do a whole show on it, and we're not doing a whole show on it. But going back to this, Lance, is again, last thing I can say on that. it's a weird class, and I have
Yeah.
no other way to describe it this year than
Well, and
it's weird.
I guess the bigger thing, the more overarching point that I was trying to get here is not that you shouldn't like hold that positional
Yeah.
value and take that wide receiver that you have graded the same as a linebacker. And this wide receiver class is really good too, by the way. Like there's a lot of high quality options. The guys that I was watching today, I watched 8 guys. All of them are going to land somewhere within the top 100, if not the top 80, when I build out my big board this year. Like these are quality players. Dane Brugler, I believe, has 17 wide receivers in the top 100 of his initial top 100, and I believe that there was like 9 in the top 32 or something like that. Like, it's a very, very strong wide receiver class too. So not to take away from that, my point, overarching point being was you're going to see a lot more positions of lesser value being taken earlier off of the board this year because those classes are so strong. And I think that we need to kind of reevaluate the positional value when we talk about the Broncos in general, especially with the needs that they currently have right now. I mean, obviously, an explosive offensive playmaker at the running back, wide receiver, or tight end position is going to be something that they're going to be looking for. With Alex Singleton being a free agent this season, Justin Strnad being a free agent, Dre Greenlaw with all the injury issues that he has had over the last couple of years of his career, linebacker is something you definitely need to look for. It never hurts to make a strength an even bigger strength and tap into a very strong edge class this year. DJ Jones at nose tackle. Yes, he just signed a long-term deal. They brought back Malcolm Roach on a deal as well. Like both of those guys, you can add some more depth at nose tackle if you really wanted to. Like just the way that this draft is lining up with the way the Broncos are currently constructed, taking the value positions kind of away a little bit and examining some of these lesser value positions, just the way that it stands with this class is probably the way that I'm really going to evaluate the Broncos in general and how they should approach this year.
Yeah, and that makes sense. And just got to keep in mind that we haven't hit free agency yet. A lot's going to change.
Yeah.
Right now, the Broncos are expected to be forced to replace 1,800 snaps about at linebacker with Alex Singleton and Justin Strnad walking. Maybe they look at doing that in free agency and then trusting some of the young guys to step up. That will affect what they do in the draft. Maybe they extend Justin Strnad, part ways with Dre Greenlaw, and now they're having to replace about 1,400 snaps at linebacker from this last year. So there's a lot that goes into it. And so that's why at this point, I'm not so focused on team need per se. I'm really more so focused on the player. And then once free agency starts to happen, once we get some of those holes filled, and Broncos are expected to be very active in free agency this year, then we start focusing. I start to narrow it down of like, okay, this player makes a lot of sense for Denver, because keeping with the linebacker, if they keep Alex Singleton, say they extend Alex Singleton, they part ways with Dre Greenlaw, and they allow Justin Strnad to walk, what type of linebacker are they looking for? They're looking for a cover guy. Even if they keep even with keeping Dre Greenlaw, based on what they did in the playoffs, where they trusted Dre Greenlaw against the run and then rotated Justin Strnad in coverage, well, that suggests that they don't really trust Greenlaw in coverage. They're going to be looking for a more coverage guy. If they part ways with Greenlaw and then bring Strnad back, who they trust in coverage more, and with his issues working downhill and trying to, taking on blocks as a stack backer, then maybe I'm looking at a, more downhill blocker. This is the difference between somebody of like Jake Golday, Anthony Hill, Jeremiah Trotter, Kyle Lewis. Like those are guys that fit those different molds of what you're looking for in the draft. Yep. And so positional value, it's always something that you got to look at, but you can't pigeonhole yourself, even in strong classes, where, of strong groups, you can't pigeonhole yourself into only looking at the positions of strength, only looking at the positions of need, because look at what that got us last year.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody was really considering Jahdae Barron. I know Nick and I in the morning shows, we talked about him a few times, but it was more so when we're doing our overall first round mock drafts about where he was going to go, more so than mocking him to Denver.
Right. Well, so and you and I,
you still got to look at everybody. You got to look at those positions of need and all that. And I'm glad you also real quick mentioned DJ Jones and adding to a nose tackle. Both DJ Jones and Malcolm Roach, with the way their contracts are structured, you can move on from them after the 2026 season, free up money, and then go to that guy that you just drafted. And that's another element that goes into the whole thing of trying to, identify players that Denver could look at, and understanding that you're most likely going to be wrong. I mean, over the years, I've probably picked maybe 5 or 6 players that the Broncos are going to draft pretty early on in the process, including Bradley Roby, who way back when, but I digress, is it makes it, you got to factor in the contracts of teams of players already on it and looking for guys to rotate and save money, especially for a team where the window is closing because you're getting of being able to spend big because you have that Bo Nix extension coming forward.
Yeah, I'm glad that you just mentioned that. Like that's another big factor in this. If you want to move on from Dre Greenlaw or Malcolm Rutch or DJ Jones, anybody like that, Cortland Sutton, potentially another player you could move on after this next season. Like there's a lot of ways to open up money, but you're going to slam that window closed by having to pay Bo Nix. I don't know if he's going to get $50 million, but he's definitely going to be one of the higher.
Oh, at this rate, he's going to get $50 million just because of the natural inflation of the position.
Yeah, I'm hoping more like the 45 area, but regardless, that's another conversation for another day. But Shiloh, he's speaking of DJ Jones, comes in and says, correct me if I'm wrong, but DJ Jones is more of a single gap nose tackle. Should we be looking for a two gapping nose tackle, or does that not fit in VJ's defense, Eric?
I would expect Denver to be looking for it. So in each of the last 3 years since Sean Payton's come to Denver, what has he tried? What's one of those things he's tried to do? He has tried to find that big two gapping nose tackle. Mm-hmm. They were very interested in the big Texas dude whose name escapes
Devontae Sweat.
Devontae Sweat. They were very interested in him. And then there came out some rumors prior to the trade deadline that maybe the Titans would look at moving on from him. And then the rumors quickly came that Denver was looking his way. They've been looking for that big body two gapping nose tackle for a while. They just haven't been able to land it. Even going back to the 2024 draft, there was a big nose tackle. I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but Denver was very interested in him. And, well, he ended up going a few picks before Denver was on the clock. And so Denver wasn't able to land him. They're very interested in adding that piece to it. And it makes a lot of sense why we continue to see some of the issues that DJ Jones has as a run defender and Malcolm Roach as well when it comes to two gapping. We saw some of those issues against the Buffalo Bills once again in the playoffs this year of getting double teamed and struggling to get off. And even going back earlier in the season against DJ Jones in particular, the Indianapolis Colts were able to do the same thing. They're able to isolate DJ Jones and as trying to with double teams and make big run plays happen off of that. I won't say I expect them to get one. I expect them to try, and I won't say I expect them to get one because there's a lot of variables in play. A guy they like may not fall there, but this is a great class to get a nose tackle. And if we ever talk about the strength of the interior defensive line, it is because it is carried by the nose tackles. So on my scouting list, which has almost 800 players on it, I have 21 nose tackles, guys who are 0 to 3 techniques. Some can slide out more, but that's their primarily role. I have 21 of them. 15 of them will be at the NFL Combine. All other interior defensive linemen, which are 5 techniques on, some of them can slide in a little bit. I have 68 total interior defensive linemen among that group of players. 15 of them are at the Combine. The strength of the interior defensive line is with the nose tackles in this class.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you said, the way that VJ is capable of organizing his defensive front, like you want penetrators for sure. Like the interior penetration that you get with guys like John Franklin Myers and Zach Allen, those guys aren't nose tackles, but the pass rush ability that Malcolm Roach brings when he subs in, with the DJ Jones can bring to you as well. You want to have those single gap penetrating, pass rushing able nose tackles, but you also do need to have that two gapping run stuffing nose tackle as well. And not that DJ Jones is a terrible run defender, but that's something that you have to watch out for. So Eric, I agree with you in that aspect. And again, like you said, this class lines up perfectly because if a guy like Caden McDonald from Ohio State falls to number 30, that's absolutely a player the Broncos should be interested in. He has the ability to stick his knee in the ground like Byron Murphy and be a true anchor as a two gapping nose tackle. A guy like Lee Hunter can do that as well. A guy like Caleb Banks is a great two gapping run defender. He's probably not going to be there for the Broncos. I think he's a top 20 player in this class, but Eric disagrees. You have him, I think 38 is what you said earlier. Like there's players here.
We'll see Caleb Banks coming out of the Combine.
Mm-hmm.
He missed most of the season because of injury.
Yeah.
There were some comments that he was being a little bit bothered by it at the Senior Bowl. So we'll see with the medicals. We'll see if there's any long-term concerns about that. and the athleticism, like that'll play a part into it, going in and going forward.
But regardless, like this is the class where you can find players like that fit your niche roles that you currently have. Because as it currently stands, I mean, there's no flaw in the logic of why this Broncos team made it to the AFC Championship game. I mean, yeah, they were clutch in big time situations, the critical fourth quarter comebacks that Bo Nix was able to orchestrate over the course of the season. This roster is still very well constructed, guys. I mean, especially along the trenches. If you can fortify those strengths that you have, even at the edge position, finding that nose tackle, finding another linebacker, like this team could be right back in the same position they were just in 3 weeks ago. So to me, I mean, if again, going away from the value positions to try to find your niche roles players in this particular class is something that I really kind of have my eyes on. I want to say hi to Pearl really fast. She wanted to stop in and say hi, but she's going to have to watch later. So just a quick shout out to Pearl Heater, who is one of the great members over on YouTube and a tremendous supporter of the show, all the shows here at Mile High Huddle on our YouTube page, and a tremendous supporter of the website as well. So thank you, Pearl. Have a great evening. We'll talk to you later.
Yeah, and we're going to switch over to a mock draft here in just a few minutes. Before we get to that, Lance, a couple things here. First off, going off of football, college baseball, do you pay much attention to it?
No, I
did you see what happened with Baylor today? I think it was today or last night. One player hit 3 grand slams.
Whoa.
Yeah, I clicked over to Twitter, and that's what I saw. Tice Armstrong, 3 grand slams in one game. I'm assuming it had to be last night, or it is tonight because it's dark out, and they're playing in Texas, and Texas is probably a lot darker than it is here in Alaska.
It's got to be it seems a little early for spring baseball, doesn't it?
I have no idea. I don't pay attention.
I don't know either.
They're playing NMSU, so North Mexico State University. Is that NMSU? But yeah,
if it's like a spring scrimmage or something like that.
First off, I don't care about baseball, but that is up there on the level of the Olympic skier who was keeping a pace going uphill on skis, uphill in snow for a sub 6 minute mile. Like that's up there with that level of extreme sportsness.
Well, the fact that you get to the plate 3 times with the bases loaded and you hit all 3 out of the park, like I almost said a bad word. That's wild, dude.
Now, getting back to football before we get yelled at by somebody in the chat again, just playing. It's all jokes. But we have Peter Johnson coming in and said, I heard another draft analyst suggest they believe next year's draft is going to be absolutely loaded. That is the big projection now, is next year's is absolutely loaded.
Including on the defensive line again, because there was 6 or 7 different guys that were going to be top 100 picks that went back to school because this defensive line class is already jacked.
Running backs expected to be absolutely phenomenal. Quarterbacks expected to be significantly better. But anyways, and that team, Peter goes on, and that team's going to move off their picks this year to try to load up for next year. I would expect teams that are moving down to really be pushing for picks next year, and teams trying to move up will be more willing to give up picks this year. So you're going to have that butting of heads there of who's going to cave first the other one's demands. Go ahead.
So I was listening to the radio, Altitude Sports Radio the other day, and Adam Schefter came on. Everybody knows Adam Schefter. And he said that because this free agency class seems to be rather weak outside of tight end seems to be pretty good. Running back seems to be pretty good. But with the running back contracts and this lack of running backs in this draft class to begin with, that a lot of guys are going to get paid a lot of money. And with a weaker draft class in general, weaker free agency class, maybe we're going to see a lot more on the trading players for picks in this particular year to try to load up rosters, which is a big part of the reason why it's been a rumor floating around for a while now, or at least speculation is that the Philadelphia Eagles could potentially move on from AJ Brown. The headaches have gone a little bit too much with him. So the Broncos, send a second this year and a third next year for AJ Brown. Absolutely. You might be willing to move on from number 30 overall to get a player like that. It's speculation at this point, but based on what we're kind of hearing from guys that are really in the know, Adam Schefter is the one that said this on the radio. He's like, you could see a lot of player for pick trades that you don't typically see in the offseason, not leading up to the trade deadline or training camp.
Yeah, I think Daniel Jeremiah also had something like that, but I think he was talking specifically about wide receivers.
Yep.
That this is a year that we could see a lot of receiver trades prior to the draft because of how weak the free agent group of receivers is, and the way the contracts are getting And I think Adam Schefter not only did say on the radio, he also made a tweet about that as well. A couple days ago about there's a lot of expectations of a lot of player trades for picks this year, because of this class being a little bit weak on the weaker side. So general consensus is this is a weak class overall. 2013 was the last class that was like viewed really weak. The EJ Manuel class, was that 2013?
Yes. Yeah, 2013.
That class was was viewed as really weak, and a lot of people are saying this class is worse. And we have Chronic coming in and saying Adam Schefter's all said his understanding is Philly doesn't plan on to move on from AJ Brown unless the trade blows him out of the water. Welcome to coach speak and general manager speak. Every team doesn't want to trade a player unless they get a trade that blows them out of the water. You say that publicly, and you say that repeat that unless you're in a situation like the 49ers are with Brandon Ayuk, where it's very obvious that a split's happening. And you say that because then you want more teams to just keep offering more and more teams to call. Like, it's just part of the negotiation game. Maybe they don't end up trading him. Maybe that trade doesn't come through that they want. Maybe, the coaching changes that they've made on the offense help appease them for a while longer. It just really depends. But this is it's coach speak, general manager speak. Before we get to the draft, one more comment from Shiloh coming in. Based on the strength of this class, if Denver went roughly nose tackle in round 1, linebacker in round 2, running back 3, tight end 4, left guard in 5, edge cornerback in 6. So, and then I think we have an extra 4th but no 5th. We have the extra 4th but no 6th. As part of that Devon Vele trade. I would be okay with it. With a nose tackle round 1, but it depends on the players. It depends on what Denver does between now and then, with like inside linebacker in particular. This is going back to that, because the linebackers in this class are a lot of them are very limited in what they bring. It really does depend on what they do in free agency and then who they draft. So if they bring it back Alex Singleton and that inside linebacker in round 2 is Josiah Trotter, I would not be happy. That is 2 downhill linebackers that are very much liabilities in coverage, with neither one of them being absolutely, great sideline to sideline. They're both fine, but they're not great there. But if you bring back Justin Strnad or even Drake Greenlaw, and you're betting on him stepping back up in coverage, and then you go get, Josiah Trotter in that second round, I'd be a little bit more okay with that. So it really does depend on who the players are. In general, without that, I would be fine with it.
There's also how does the board fall? And this is a great comment to kind of segue into what we're doing here in just a couple minutes. Like, obviously, how the board falls is always going to really kind of dictate where you're going. And like I've just, got done saying a few minutes ago, positional value, what are your needs? Like, what particular roles are you kind of looking for? So as Erick's got this pulled up, I'm going to go full screen so I can see what's going on here, guys. So if I don't catch anything that you guys have in the comments, I do apologize for that. So Erick, if you can kind of keep an eye on that, that'd be great. I'll bounce back and forth to make sure that I'm trying to keep an eye on that. Before we get into
this, though, I actually have a comment that is very relevant. Okay. Chase Woolner, you guys aren't too big on the Georgia linebacker, if I recall.
No.
He's not on the board here at 30. He went 29th overall to the Rams, and I am not. I have serious concerns about his length. There are some that saying he might not come in at over 6 foot, might not meet 6 foot, might be a little bit under, and the arm length is questionable. There are times where now he brings a lot of force into his tackles, which makes up some inability to proper wrap up as a tackler, and that works at the college level, but it tends to be a little bit more of a problem when you enter the NFL. And he's not a window eraser with the lack of length that you want in the passing game. I think he's a very fine player, but I would be talking about him at 62 overall in the second round than I would be 30th. So we don't even have to really get in that conversation because he's off the board. But a couple of his Georgia teammates sit at the top of the board for us.
Yeah, guys. Interior defensive lineman Kristen Miller. I haven't got a chance to check him out, so I'm not going to speak on him yet. The offensive tackle Monroe Freeling, who people are thinking could be a starting right tackle day one at the NFL level. Brandon Cisse, cornerback from South Carolina. Akeem Mesidor round out the top 4. Erick, run down here. Oh, here we go. This is I already have 2 players right now that let's get into this one. The number 37 player on the board, Chris Bell, the wide receiver out of Louisville. That was one of the players that I went and watched today and got a really good deep dive on him. If not for him tearing his ACL late in the season, I would take him right now and not think twice about it. You're talking about a bigger bodied, explosive wide receiver that has incredible run after the catch ability. He's a fairly decent route runner, at least right now. I think there's some refinement that he needs to work on in breaking routes. But if you want to talk about a guy that works so well on slants and crossing routes, this is the guy for you. But the direction go ahead.
You mentioned his injury.
Mm-hmm.
And how much does the fact that he may not be ready to go until late October, early November, how much does that impact your opinion of him for Denver here specifically at 30th overall? Does it make you go another way?
It would make me go another way because of the player that's sitting at number 35, 2 players above him, and Emmanuel McNeil-Warren, the safety out of Toledo. And if McNeil-Warren was gone here and CJ Allen was still on the board, I would probably consider going Chris Bell even despite that. I don't think that that's necessarily going to happen. And honestly, I think Chris Bell is probably going to fall closer towards the tail end of the second round. And if he's there somewhere around the 50 area, if I remember correctly, the Broncos have the 60th overall pick in the second round. 62nd. Okay. So if he falls somewhere around 50, I would consider trading up for this player because he offers a completely different skill set than anybody else that you have on your roster right now. He has wide receiver 1 upside in terms of I don't want to call him an AJ Brown kind of a player. Deebo Samuel's probably a little bit better there. But that's kind of the player that you're looking at here, just to give you kind of a comparison. Bigger bodied, explosive wide receiver, works well over the middle of the field, extremely well run after the catch. But to me, Eric, with Brandon Jones being a free agent this season, you already have Talanoa Hufanga who played. I thought that he was a free agent.
Brandon Jones is under contract for the 2026 season.
Regardless, I still think that Emmanuel McNeil-Warren would be the guy here because Talanoa Hufanga does such a great job as your dime linebacker and playing closer towards the football. Emmanuel McNeil-Warren has enough range that he can take over that Brandon Jones role and play sideline to sideline as a free safety, and also has the hitting power that Jones brings as well as a tackler. This would be an immediate replacement for Brandon Jones. And with Brandon Jones coming off that torn pectoral, we don't know what he's going to look like going into this next season. So to me, Emmanuel McNeil-Warren is 100% the direction that I would go in this particular situation.
Are you scared off of the fact at all that this could be yet another year of Denver drafting a defensive back that doesn't see the field a whole lot, barring injury, as a rookie?
No, absolutely not. And the reason why is because I said it a little bit earlier, talking about potentially tapping into this edge class early on in the draft class, making a strength an even bigger strength. The secondary is one of the biggest strengths on this roster right now, especially at the cornerback position. But with Brandon Jones, the injury concerns you have there, the long-term with Brandon Jones not being under contract after the 2026 season, you continue to build this roster and just take good football players, especially in a class like this. We talked about positional value here. Emmanuel McNeil-Warren is arguably the best safety in this class, not named Caleb Downs. And if you can get a player like that at the 30th overall pick, you absolutely have to jump on that and just continue to build the strengths of this roster. You may still have some bigger needs like linebacker or nose tackle or running back, but there's no player that's better than Emmanuel McNeil-Warren at those particular positions right now.
Now, I'm a big fan of McNeil-Warren. I think if I remember right, he's right around a top 25 player for me. I did a top 25 board earlier, and no, he's in my top 20. I'm a big fan of his, and what I came to is I would draft him, and if Brandon Jones is struggling coming back from the torn pec, if McNeil-Warren, even if he doesn't struggle, if McNeil-Warren is doing significantly better, I am moving on from Brandon Jones. I will dangle him as trade bait and try to move on, or even keep him as the third safety and then up until the trade deadline and then make a move there. I would not be scared off at all with the whole Jahdae Barron and, a depth linebacker barely seeing the field. I would not be scared off by that at all.
What is the ramifications of cutting Brandon Jones? I can pull his contract really fast. Go ahead.
So cutting Brandon Jones, it's very doable. It's one of those things that's actually being talked about because of the unknown about the injury. He accounts about 9.2 million against the salary cap this year. Cutting him regularly, even before, not a jump post June 1st, a regular cut, you're saving 7.4 to 1.8 dead. That is enough of a return. And when he signs elsewhere, you get some of that money back and it's a reimbursement against the cap. It is enough to make it worth it.
Yep.
And it happens at any point, even after June 1st, it is still the same. It doesn't change. It doesn't trade with the trade at all either. It is all the same numbers. A little over 7.4, a little over 1.8 dead, 7.4 saved. It is worth it. So I would be more than willing to keep that. I'm going to throw one other player out there for you before I let you make the pick. Okay. And before we went live chat, just so you understand this, Lance is going to be making the first 3 picks. I'm going to be making the later picks since I've done a little bit more of the work on the depth guys. He's done a little bit, some work on the early guys. Monroe Freeling. You have both Garrett Bowles and Mike McGlinchey, who you can get out of their contracts after this year. Mike McGlinchey has not been great, and people want to talk about Ben Powers and cutting him. Mike McGlinchey hasn't lived up to his contract whatsoever. He's actually been worse and worse value against the contract than Ben Powers has. I would consider Monroe Freeling, talking about a guy that you're not looking at an impact for as a rookie, but beyond, getting him developed, getting him working with Zach Strief, getting him knowing this scheme and what's going to be asked of him, providing some depth right away. He's got some technical issues, great athlete. I would look at Monroe Freeling as going after that. Sometimes, I was just getting ready to say this, Chase comes in, Nick likes this thought, you just take good players. Monroe Freeling is a good player, McNeil Warren's a good player. Either one of those, I would be very, very pleased with. I don't think you need to pigeonhole yourself into offensive weapon or bust, or like last year, running back or bust for the Broncos. I would be fine with either one of these guys.
So Kronowick coming in saying, I take the offensive lineman, always keep the offensive line strong.
Chronic, you're my guy.
I 100% agree with this. I'm fishing here, and maybe the bait might not actually work out for me. I got a player in mind at 62. If he's there, then I'm all in for.
You're being like Nick, and I hate it when Nick does this, and I let Nick know. I'll let you know. I hate gaming the simulators.
This isn't even trying to game the simulator. So first and foremost, we tampered with the randomness of this drafting for positional need and stuff like that. So I have not played enough with the simulator to even do that. But and Peter Johnson to come in and plan for the future at tackle. I totally get it. There's a player that I really, really like for the Broncos, just not at 30.
Arizona State tackle's not going to be there.
Damn it, dude! That's the game. How did you know that I was going for Max Iheanacher or Iheanacher? However the hell you say his name.
Iheanacher.
You can talk me into Monroe Freeling. I'm so much of a fan of.
It's your pick. If you want to go McNeil Warren and risk it, we'll go McNeil Warren and risk it.
There's another couple. You know what? Let's go Freeling. Let's go Freeling. We got enough people in the chat saying let's go Freeling. I like this too because Mike McGlinchey. You could move on from that contract this year as well, and save some money. I believe they're going to restructure that more than actually try to move on from him. But you can move on from him after this year. Get Monroe Freeling in tow. Like you said, let him learn. It just sucks to move on from a player like Emmanuel McNeil Warren because, man, I love the ferociousness he plays with, dude. He's so fun to watch.
51 overall. That's where he went.
Ah, man. All right. See, and then Blake Miller. Blake Miller's here too. That was another one that I kind of had my eyes on. Blake Miller, the tackle from Clemson. He's a starting right tackle that can actually be a depth piece for you. There was another guy that I had.
Not for Denver. Not with the scheme that Denver does.
Yeah, he's more zone. He's more zone friendly than
he's
than
more West
friendly.
Coast zone. The Shanahan. Yep. Yeah, that's more.
All right. So we got Blake Miller, Jadarian Price, who I know a lot of Broncos fans are really high on, the other running back out of Notre Dame. Erick has a problem with him, and I don't necessarily disagree with him in the fact that fumbles are a big thing with Jadarian Price. He puts the ball on the ground a lot. Josiah Trotter, the linebacker out of Missouri, like you said, a thumping downhill run defender, a guy that makes his dad and his brother very proud. Joshua Joseph's the edge from Tennessee. I haven't got a chance to see him yet. Connor Liu, the center out of Auburn, Dominique Orange, Big Citrus, the nose tackle from Iowa State. And then here we go. we're getting into a guy that I really, there's a couple of guys I really like. Jack Andrews, Max Clare, Elijah Surratt is a player that I watched earlier today who I really like. Cortland Sutton-esque, Anquan Bolden-esque, bigger bodied, more of a possession receiver. I want someone with a little bit more explosiveness here. So honestly, I'm kind of narrowing it down. Dominic Orange is one that I really have my eyes on. Connor Liu would have been a good player here, but the Broncos with the extension for Luke Wattenberg is definitely an issue there. So Sanderson is going to be off the board. Max Clare at the tight end position. Good receiver, decent blocker. That's a direction I'm thinking about. So Eric, what are your thoughts here? The way this board fell, I'm not necessarily a huge fan of.
For this mock, what did Denver do at linebacker prior to the draft? What did Denver do at linebacker for this mock, in your opinion, or your thought?
Let's go. Let's say they kept Sternad and said that he could have a starting role, because I think that's going to be a cheaper player than Alex Singleton.
And what do they do with Dre Greenlaw? Do they keep him as well?
Yeah, they'll keep him as well.
Then I would consider Josiah Trotter here.
That's
as a downhill stack linebacker. You're betting on Greenlaw improving in coverage. You have Sternad there in coverage, and you can use both of them a little bit together. I think Sternad would be a little bit upset, but I would be looking at Josiah Trotter. The other one I'd be looking at is Dominic Orange. You want a big body nose tackle type. Dominic Orange is there. Jadarian Price, the fumbles concern me, the lack, and it's not just that. So when I do fumble rate, I don't factor in special teams touches. It's only pure offensive touches. And the fact that this last season alone, he's under 40 in that fumble rate is a significant concern. And even in his career, it's not that great. And it's coming on him averaging less than 10 touches per game. So that's a little bit more of an impactful fumble for him with not having the opportunities to make forward at the collegiate level. And I'm not a big fan of his play style being paired with a guy like RJ Harvey. I do think that it makes a lot of sense with what he can bring as a returner. And that definitely helps him, but just with RJ Harvey in there, I'm just not overly sold. But the guy that I would go here, Elijah Surratt, that would be my option. That would be the way I go. I'm a huge fan of his. I like what he can do after the catch. I think that he can really work on slants, and I think that he has the highest success rate on back shoulder throws as a receiver in college football this last season. And that is something that Denver has had a little bit of struggles with. Surratt is where I would go. But if you want to go Trotter with what you set in mind, with them having Greenlaw and bringing Sternad back, I would be fine with Trotter as well.
I want to go Surratt or Skylar Bell. I saw Skylar Bell down there too. And another player, Skylar Bell, the wide receiver out of UConn, one of the, if not the best wide receiver in this draft class in terms of yards after the catch. And that's what this Broncos team desperately needs. And Surratt brings a bigger bodied version of that. So I think let's go Surratt here, because 40% of Surratt's yards this season came after the catch. He's an elite player after the catch. It may not always look the prettiest, but he's a big body guy, very reliable. He's got a great catch radius, very good route runner, does a good job creating separation on slants and on comebacks and stuff like that. I think Surratt's probably the direction I'm going to go here. With this linebacker class, we can find another downhill guy if we need to.
Now, Lance, I already told the chat that you're picking these. They're going to start thinking that I bullied you off screen to.
No. Peter Middleton's joining us from Singapore today. He says the first time I'm watching a potential draft. He's like, the Broncos need a tight end. I don't disagree with you. There's a couple of different tight ends that I like later down the board here as well. So, and you just peeked his name up there for me. There he is, Sam Roush, the tight end out of Stanford. This is probably a little rich for Sam Roush, in my opinion. I think that you could probably get him in the 4th round. But then a guy that, Eric, I know that you like a lot, and a guy that after watching the Senior Bowl practices and everything, He's not a downhill guy, but if you want to add some more coverage versatility to the linebacker position, even with bringing Greenlaw back, even with bringing Justin Strnad back, Kyle Lewis is all the way the guy I'm going right here, like without question. I love his tenacity. He may be a little bit smaller, may not have quite the length, but he makes up for it with his just positioning around the football. Like this is he's a turnover machine too. So Kyle Lewis is the guy, like point blank. Period.
That's
this
your guy.
is the guy that's the guy I'm going with here, Kyle Lewis.
So as we go on, I would have gone Keelan Rutledge there.
The guard from Georgia Tech.
We talked about the offensive tackles and their future. Well, Ben Powers is another one. And Keelan Rutledge is another Quinn Miners, basically, with the way he plays the game. The fact that he had to be told to tone down the ferocity he was practicing with during Senior Bowl practices says a lot about his mindset.
Yep.
I like Kyle Lewis, but and you can make him work with, the mindset that we set in with this at linebacker with Greenlaw back and Strnad back. You can make him work. He's definitely a cover guy. He can eliminate that middle of the field just because of how he plays it. He very much is a box safety, basically. You do have to do a lot to cover him in the run game. That means you got to probably be a little bit more two gapping, which is where my concern is, because that is not something the Broncos do. And especially if you don't have that nose tackle that can two gap, it raises a little bit more issues there. I'm fine with it. I'm a huge fan of Kyle Lewis. But I probably, hindsight's 2020, I would have done something different at 62 and maybe even 30 if we knew we were getting Kyle Lewis at 96.
Well, and another thing is maybe we should have probably like set the ground rules and did kind of a mock off season before we started into this process and really kind of thought through, like, this is how we're doing this. I don't want to say flying off the handle, but like off the top of my head here. So,
yeah.
And the other thing here with Drake Greenlaw, yeah, he's that downhill thumper and he's really good in coverage. He also has the injury concerns. Yeah, I think that they could move on from him and save a bunch of money this season. But you want to bring
his
at least
contract is a series of 1 year deals, basically 1 year.
Exactly. So like you could, but if you still bring him back, because you're losing Alex Singleton, you're probably going to lose Justin Strnad. You want to at least keep one starting capable linebacker on this roster, and Greenlaw, because he's currently on under contract, makes the most sense to just keep him around. If he gets hurt, you have a guy that can play in coverage, and Kyle Lewis that can step in immediately and offer starting quality upside in coverage.
Now we're on the clock with the 4th round pick. Sam Roush is the guy that I'm going here. I think that he is a really good blocker. As a receiver, he can be effective, but you really got to improve the hands. He had the second highest draft rate among draft graded, tight ends in this class, and not just tight ends, but offensive weapons in general. He had of every offensive weapon that has a draftable grade right now, from me anyways, he had the highest drop rate, and it was significantly high.
Yeah.
That is my concern here, but he is a great blocker. He can work in line. He's extremely smart. He's going to put in the work to sit there and improve the block, improve the hands. I would take a bet on him at this point. That is where I am going here.
Well, and like I said, comfortable taking him at 94. You still got him 14 picks later in the 4th round. So I mean, absolutely. Oh man, this is. I hate to be the one to like jump in on this. Nicholas Singleton at the top of this board right now. Even the hard part is Nicholas Singleton broke his foot at the combine, and you want to talk about a dude that has to, or excuse me, the Senior Bowl. I misspoke. My bad. Isaiah World here makes a lot of sense as well. Who else is on the board here, Eric? I'm not trying to jump in on your spot. I just saw Nicholas Singleton and Isaiah.
I'm going to quickly grab a couple comments in the chat here. Okay, Conga Hydra talking about Jacob Rodriguez. I am not a fan of him. He is a guy where length pops up as a major issue as a tackler. Mm-hmm. A lot of times he's struggling to wrap up. He just brings a lot of force to cover it, very similar to CJ Allen. And unlike CJ Allen, he has a lot more miscues in coverage to be a risk. Peter Johnson's route looks similar to Puka after the catch, real hard to bring down. That is one of the big reasons why I like him. He is definitely hard to bring down. Clifton Harris coming with their 3 round, saying Kenyon Sadiq, then traded for Marvin Harrison Jr. from the Cardinals with that 62nd overall pick, and then took Jacoby Lane. A lot of weapons for Bo Nix in that. Peter Milton, why would the Broncos lose a high culture and popular player like Alex Singleton? Doesn't make sense to me. He's a free agent. So unless they extend him, he's going to be going elsewhere. It's not a thing of them cutting him or not, but he's just a free agent, and he might want to explore what's out there. and see what's available in terms of money and financial reasons. He may want to return. Denver may not want him to return for overplay reasons or for financial reasons or whatever. So that's just it. He's just currently a free agent. But going back to the mock draft, I wouldn't take a risk on Nicholas Singleton at 130 overall with the broken foot.
Yeah.
Now, if he's there in the 5th round, I would consider it. And if you want to look at running back, I would consider Le'Veon Moss, who had a ankle injury during the season. Jaden Ott is definitely a interesting player, but I would go to the Penn State teammate and Katron Allen. Or if I really wanted to double down on blocking at the tight end position, I would go with the Texas A&M dude whose name I'm not going to try to say, because he was probably a top 4 blocking tight end in all of college football last year.
Mm-hmm. So Katron Allen is definitely a player I have my eyes on here because bigger bodied, really, really good in pass protection. He was probably the best pass protecting back in Mobile last weekend, or 2 weeks ago. That's fun for me. Jaden Ott, some explosiveness there as well. Will you scroll up on the board for me really quick? Isaiah World. You want to talk about a developmental tackle that can play right or left side, and you want to talk about a player that can develop into a starting upside player. Isaiah World is a guy that if you want to keep like building on this offensive line, a guy that can step in for Mike McGlinchey after a year. I mean, that's a player here too that I'm very intrigued by.
Well, I mean, if we're taking Isaiah World, then we're replacing both tackles because we already took Monroe Freeling in the 1st round.
Oh, that's right. Never mind. Sorry.
I'm going to make a decision here. I'm doubling up in the 4th round on tight ends. Blocking was such an issue from the tight end position. It is something that has to be fixed. I'm doubling up. I'm making sure the blocking in the tight end room here is fixed. And we gotta soar through these last few picks here because we are running late on time.
Go ahead.
We still have the last little bit to get through. And looking at here, I'm trying to see what we have at running back. Kind of got to get one. Unfortunately, the board didn't fall that way. So looking around, seeing what else we can get. Not taking another tight end, obviously. This is rough, man. Man, the board just did not fall in a favorable way with this.
No, it did not.
This is absolutely gross. Man,
was Newski's intriguing, but no.
Yeah, just not at this point here. I mean, if you want a big body guy, nose tackle, Cole Brevard, he can come in and probably contribute right away as a 2-down run defender. Bishop Fitzgerald, Xavier Harris. I mean, you're really betting on the athleticism and the size. He's like 6'6", 330 pounds, and carries it pretty well.
Zane Durant had a nice showing at the Senior Bowl.
He's ranked 232 here. I'm going to go Rayshon Benny because come the actual draft, I think he's long gone by this point. I think this is just a matter of Pro Football Focus hasn't caught up to where he's actually being viewed, and I think he's only going to go higher and keep raising up. I think it was Daniel Jeremiah who talked about him being a top 100 player on Twitter the other day. It might have been Dane Brugler, might have been somebody else. I remember somebody talking about him as a top 100 player. So I'm going to take advantage of Pro Football Focus not being caught up here, and I'm going to go with James Thompson or Rayshon Benny. Sorry, James Thompson's another one who's probably gone by this point as well, just not as high as Rayshon Benny. So I'm going with Rayshon Benny to improve that defensive line. Not a nose tackle type, but another guy that can contribute with Uwazurike and Savion Jones and replacing John Frankenmeyers. 7th round, have a few picks here. Another guy that I think is long gone here, Riley Nowakowski. Unfortunately, already went 2 tight ends. He's a really good blocker, a little bit undersized. Chip Trayanum, I don't think we've taken a running back yet.
No, we haven't.
I'm taking Chip Trayanum. Dude is big. He's powerful. He runs hard, keeps the legs churning. He is among the top 15 in both designed runs of getting 10 plus yards and 15 plus yards. Has a little bit more burst than a lot of people think. That's where I'm going there. Adding in another guy, Mason Rieger, relentless motor coming out of Wisconsin as an edge rusher. Keep moving that depth. Denver, this opens up the door even more for Denver to move on from one of their edge rushers. Most likely Jonathan Cooper after the down play he had to close out the season. And the last guy here that I'm going to throw in here, I can cheat, and I'm going to cheat again. I'm going to do Jam Miller. I think he's long gone by this point. I think he's a 4th round pick. I think he's gone in the top 125 picks. He's still available. I'm going to cheat the board again with Pro Football Focus not catching up. I'm taking Jam Miller.
Is that kid that wears 26 at Alabama?
I
think so. Hold on. Because if he is that same guy, I agree with you. Yes, it is. Yeah, that's not a 7th round running back, guys. He's a 4th or 5th round pick. He's pretty damn good. There's some explosiveness. He's got some burst, got some wiggle, good vision. Like north and south kind of a runner. Like he's not a scat back. A little bit smaller, but not like too small. I'll bet you he's probably 6'2", 205. I think is probably where he's gonna come in at the combine. But I had a lot of fun watching him when I was watching Jeremy Bernard earlier today.
Yeah, absolutely like it. And guys, I do want to apologize. There is, for some reason, at least on my end, as I've been running this chat, YouTube comments have been coming in like well after that they're saying it in, like a few minutes after. So if we're late to getting it and you're coming over on YouTube, I apologize for it. I have
mine's doing the same thing. Mine's doing the same thing
on StreamYard's end, and I sincerely apologize for that. But we do want to say thank you guys for joining in. If I've missed out on some of your comments, see just now, Shiloh Hesh just popped up for me. Great commentary with each pick. Came in at 6 o'clock. It's 6:03, so it's 3 minutes before it came in. So thank you for that. We appreciate that. I want to do a show probably after the combine's over, doing another mock draft. That's just a mock draft and really be able to dive into each pick with it. And I think Monday morning, Nick is planning a mock draft as well. So make sure you guys tune in for that. But we do need to get out of here. It is getting a little bit late, and we do only have a limited amount of time that we can go over the hour mark before I start getting yelled at and to get off here, because we can't stream to Facebook and publish content on Facebook. It raises a lot of issues for us. So we're going to get out of here. But before we do, as you guys can see scrolling across the ticker, well, first of all, let us know your thoughts on the draft. If you're on our mock draft, if you're listening after the fact on YouTube, well, make a comment below. If you're listening to this after the fact and you're not watching on YouTube or something else, reach out to us on Twitter. Reach out to us on Facebook. Let us hear what you liked about it. Let us hear what you didn't like about it. Make your voices heard, and it is something that we will definitely consider going forward, because we are like the Arizona Cardinals and we will cave to fan pressure. But as you can see scrolling across the bottom of the ticker here, make sure you guys subscribe, like, and share. Those are ways to help us with the algorithms, especially on YouTube and Facebook, that are ever changing and ever being frustrating on our end. Also, make sure you guys become a member over at youtube.com/@MileHighHuddle. We are starting to integrate more or move over more to YouTube because of issues with Facebook and the algorithms that are ever changing and ever giving us headaches. So we're doing more of that. And I know that there's been some conversations about some more member only content coming that way. I still have to get around to talking to Chad about some ideas that I had that includes possibly a little Broncos trivia thing that I want to do. So keep an eye out for that. Super chats and stars, we always appreciate them. Thank you guys for those who do, but thank you to everybody who comes in and supports the show. Super chats and YouTube stars are just the one way that you can directly support us and help us keep the lights on, and we really do appreciate it. We want to say thank you and welcome to every single member that we have. That is another way that you can directly help support us. If you guys are listening to this after the fact on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, or even watching live and want to help us out, go to Spotify or Apple Podcasts and leave a 5-star review for a chance to win some gear. Not swag. I hate saying swag every single month. From the Mile High Huddle crew of Zach and Chad. You guys can also join the MHH Discord server. The link is in the description down below. You guys can also follow us on Instagram at Mile High Huddle with an underscore between Mile High and Huddle. And if you are able to financially do so, go over to mhhmerch.com. Where you guys can get hats like the one I'm wearing, shirts, mugs, all sorts of stuff. You guys can get your gear on, not swag. Again, I hate saying swag. Follow us on Facebook, facebook.com/Mile Huddle pod, facebook.com/Mile Huddle. Even though we are slowly moving away from it, we still have that wonderful community that we have there. We are not abandoning you guys whatsoever. We are still just trying to fight with Facebook about fixing the algorithm issues that we are having with it, among with other things behind the scenes that are going on with Facebook. We're not abandoning you guys. So if you guys aren't a member over on Facebook right now, still join. Still go subscribe to it. You guys get access to all of our written content there and join the wonderful Facebook community that we have built up over the last 13 years, almost 14 years now. You guys can follow us on Twitter or X at Mile High Huddle, at DVDD_pod, at the MHH pod, at Lance and myself, at Lance S_MHH, and at Erick Trickel. And you guys can reach out to us there anytime, any way, DMs, tweets, whatever. I try to respond as best I can. Sometimes I do get a little overwhelmed. And I also have a bad habit of checking messages and being like, oh, yeah, I'll respond to that later, and then forgetting. But I try not to. But thank you guys for joining in on this wonderful Friday night. Lance, before we get out of here, any last words?
No, I like the way that this draft kind of rounded out here. Monroe Freeling, obviously in the first round, Elijah Surratt, Kyle Lewis, the linebacker for Pittsburgh, Sam Roush, doubling down with Nate Borkercher at tight end here. Rayshon Benny, haven't seen him yet. Excited to dive into Chip Trayanum, and the last two picks, I'm completely unfamiliar with. So there's that. But no, again, we went away from what I was kind of talking about. The positional value picks. We got a couple of those guys. Monroe Freeling, the positional value there over the safety, wide receiver, taking the wide receiver over the linebacker, finally getting the linebacker. It's fun to kind of go through all those conversations. This is a great exercise. What did we get as far as a grade? Pro Football Focus, a B. So a solid draft class.
I would be higher if they were actually right with Rayshon Benny.
Regardless, I mean, it's always fun to do these shows with you and to not only like voice my opinions and get that out there, but learn more from you as well. So appreciate you for bringing up the idea. I had no idea what to even talk about. I was like, let's talk about some wide receivers. I'm going to watch a whole bunch of that. But
if all else fails during this time of year, we'll talk about the NFL draft. Maybe we'll do a full show on the Olympics. No, we can't.
Or minor league baseball play or college baseball. We could do that too. Anyways, thanks again, everybody, for joining us, giving us an hour of your time and spending time with us on a great Friday evening. You all stay safe and take care. Have a great rest of your weekend. And as always, guys, go Broncos.
Yeah, thank you guys for joining in. I hope you guys have a wonderful Friday night. Make sure you guys stay safe. Don't drink and drive. And make sure you guys choose kindness and compassion. And again, stay safe. There's a lot going on right now with weather. I think the polar vortex is kind of passed, but I know some places are still dealing with some bad weather. So make sure you guys are being careful with that. And if you guys are struggling mentally, make sure you guys reach out to somebody. Lance and I are available as well to talk to you. If you want to talk football, if you want to talk more personal stuff, whatever, we are there for you. Make sure you reach out. You are loved. You would be missed. And there's plenty of resources available for the help that you need. You just reach out. Thank you guys for tuning in. Hope you guys have a wonderful Friday night. Again, stay safe. Don't drink and drive. Choose kindness and compassion. I will see you guys on Monday morning and then next Friday morning. And then Lance and I will be back with you next Friday night as we dive into the NFL Combine. Thank you for showing up. And as always, go Broncos.